Hello everyone, Tacticalist here. Today we have a battle from a Friday Night Fight tournament a while back. Now some of you might have already seen this Greenskin versus Vampire Counts match on stream, but I do want to showcase this in a replay just because the Vampire Count player brought some interesting tools against the Green Tide. Most notably this one, the Vampire Hero of Shadows. With no spells on her, just her items and abilities, the sort of anti-heroes to further bolster her weapon strength. Now, she does have some solid melee fighting stats, 60 attack, 40 defense. On her health stat, she can actually be a decent duelist against enemy single entities. On top of that, the Immortal Will to heal herself in combat. And for the rest of the army, we have a ton of Grave Gods, just some very solid infantry, armored and anti-infantry with solid melee stats overall. And then at the back, a ton of zombies for a bit of chaff. A very layered formation right here, just trying to tie down the Greenskins forces as much as possible. I assume Stonesmen in the middle providing a very solid backbone for the Vampire Count formation, protecting the Banshee and also Vlad von Carstein. They are accompanied by some corpse cots with Unholy Lodestone, Vlad von Carstein himself bringing quite a few spells, Invocation of Nahak, Zombie Summon, Winds of Death. Now this is not expected at all. A very destructive spell, but they have been nerfed to the ground, so not exactly worth the Winds of Magic these days. Anyways, the rest of the items, we have the Karstein Ring for the damage resistance, Blood Drinker for the very effective self-heal on Vlad, and of course the Master of Beguilement to lower enemy melee stats. The Banshee doesn't have any items, just coming in as a cheap terror piece, plus some good armor-piercing damage. On the other side, we have the Greenskins, the Green Tide, a front line of Orc Boys, backed up by a few Night Goblin Archers, and then for the single entities, we have the Giant River Troll Hack with Spirit Leech and the Aspect of the Dread Knight to provide that terror to the Greenskin units, not to terrify the Vampire Count units, but to make the Greenskin units immune to terror. Leading the army, Scarsnake coming in with Spite of the Bad Moon and Fermented Fungi. And they're accompanied by a Rogue Idol, a very solid melee piece, great anti-infantry, and with the armor and weapon strength, it can grind out enemy infantry very effectively. For example, the Grave God. The rest of the army, just two Orc Biggins, backed up by two more Trolls, one of them the Swamp Things, and the other one Stone Trolls. And that's it for army builds. Now let's get the battle started. Without any long-range missiles or the Greenskin signature missile cavalry, there is no need to look at the marching phase here because both armies are simply marching towards each other. We'll be doing a bit of fast forward as the Greenskins are setting up to shoot at whatever vampire units that got too close, like this Vampirist of Shadows here. The Night Goblin Archers will be opening fire, but the Vampirist is juking, not taking much missile damage, though here comes the Giant River Troll Hack, counteracting her very reckless advance with a Spirit Leech. The Immortal Will be activated using that healing to mitigate that incoming damage, keeping the Vampirist of Shadows above a certain HP threshold, preventing that Fermented Fungi from rampaging her onto the ground. Now, the front line there, we have the Grave Gods charging into the Orc Boys. Their anti-infantry bonus would do some really good work against the Orc Boys, and their armor would mitigate the counterpunch of the Orc infantry, and so the Grave Gods should be able to win this fight handily, especially with Vlad and the Banshee helping out this middle engagement. The terror from the Banshee, and I believe Vlad himself as well, should be able to break these Orc Boys without much issue. And at the back, Vampirist of Shadows diving down using that sort of anti-heroes, boosting her own melee damage output, and now doing some really good work against Giant River Troll Hack, which is not exactly the greatest melee combatant. At the same time, a little bit of a Winds of Death from Vlad von Carstein nuking this unit of Orc Boys. The second unit of Orc Boys have been routed by the Stonesmen, so I don't think they actually got hit that hard by the spell. Actually, these are just regular Grave Gods who got hit pretty hard by the Rogue Idol. Stonesmen are still at the back there in reserve now, joining this fight against the Rogue Idol there, supporting Vlad and the Banshee. The two armor-piercing single entities are doing some really good work against the Rogue Idol, who only have 24 melee defense, and even the Banshee's not the best melee attack can easily punch through his protection. While at the same time, the Rogue Idol got counteracted by the Master of Beguilement, dropping his melee attacks significantly, and even the Wa and the Spite of the Bad Moon is not enough to make up for this massive debuff, and Banshee and Vlad are just not taking much damage in this whole engagement. The flanks are now stabilized by the engagement of some trolls joining this fight. You can see the Swamp Things doing some really good damage against the Grave Gods, and the Orc Boys on the flanks are piling onto the zombies. Orc Biggins here are intercepting the Stonesmen, who try to push through and threaten the Night Goblin Archers, and the Stone Trolls are engaging as well. Another Fermented Fungi this time managing to rampage the Vampiress of Shadows. Now she is kind of stuck in this fight here as the Stone Trolls are piling on her, but there are some zombies to provide a little bit of distraction and support the meat shields to protect her from getting sniped out, while the two armor-piercing single entities of the Vampire Counts are really just doing good work against the Rogue Idol, who did some good damage value so far, but just not enough to put a dent on the super tanky Vlad, who also has the Karstein Ring to mitigate more incoming damage using that damage resistance. Now the Stonesmen are cutting through the Orc Biggins no problem, Giant River Trollhag engaging them, trying to smash them apart for a bit, while these Orc Biggins really are needed to stabilize the front line and push back the Vampire Infantry. The Orc Infantry is running thin now, and they're desperately needed to hold back the tide of undead. On the flanks, there are Blood Knights trying to sneak through and get on top of the Night Goblin Archers, but here comes the Orc Boys and the Swamp Things here, trying to drag them into a melee fight, so they will be turning around and charging straight back into the Swamp Things. The impact is insane here. Anti-large bonus and that 79 charge bonus. Really doing some good work against the lightly armored Swamp Things. The infantry here will be providing a bit of that meat shield support for the monstrous infantry, but just not quite enough to save the Swamp Things from that massive burst damage. On the left flank of the Vampire Counts, the Vampiress of Shadows managed to pull herself out of this fight. On top of that, she was half health before, but the Immortal Wheel healing has helped her recover almost back to 75% hit points. This Immortal Will self-heal is honestly quite good. It doesn't limit how many times you can use this ability, so she can just keep spamming that ability until she hits her heal cap. Now she engages into the fight once more, and at the background there, the Rogue Idol now being hit by the Master of Beguilement once again, almost on the verge of dying, as Vlad and the Banshee are constantly chipping away his health down to last 100 hit points. The zombies are nagging at his feet, and one final stab from the Banshee should be able to finish him off. Without this massive centerpiece, this is gonna be quite rough for the Greenskins to finish off the single entities here. The Giant River Trollhag is once again falling victim to the Vampiress of Shadows. Being the only hero with mounts available to them on the Vampire Counts roster, the Vampiress of Shadows does have quite a bit of mobility to keep pursuing their targets, keeping that pressure on. As a result, the Giant River Trollhag, who is known for her self-heal, actually got beaten by the self-healing Vampiress. The Immortal Will is actually a very good self-healing ability. You don't have to go into melee to activate it, and it doesn't have that fire weakness drawback. With the healing every 60 seconds, the Vampiress was able to dominate the duel. At the same time, the Greenskins army has collapsed in the center, allowing the Vampire Count units to break through. Now the Night Goblin Archers are exposed to the push of the Grave Gods and some zombies. Orc Biggins are desperately trying to hold the line, but that is not stopping Vlad here, and the Night Goblin Archers will be dragged into melee and actually just straight up terrified. Simply standing next to the greatest Vampire Count is already too much for their tiny goblin hearts. At the back there, Blood Knights have charged into the Swamp Things once again, quickly breaking them with the charge impact damage. The Fermented Fungi has been activated trying to pin these Blood Knights down, but the Swamp Things just not having the best pathfinding here, getting stuck among the rampaging Blood Knights, and they were not able to get out in time. And the Blood Knights simply finished them off with a bit of that anti-large damage. At the back there, Stone Trolls are still fighting among a whole lot of zombies, slowly being dragged down by the sheer numbers of Vampire Count units. At this point, the Vampire Counts have dominated the balance of power. Vlad is at full health once again with his healing, and the Greenskins are giving out in terms of hit points and leadership. Honestly, Vlad can probably solo everything left on the Greenskin side by himself, and army losses hit, the victory belongs to the Counts. GG to both Gotrek Starbreaker and the Suros for this one battle in the Friday Night Fight finals. For the army performances here, the Vampire of Shadows did a lot of damage fighting a number of trolls, including the Giant River Troll Hag, and for a short moment there, she was actually fighting some stone trolls as well, and accumulated quite a bit of damage while she herself healed back up whatever damage she took by using the Immortal Will. The two armor-piercing leadership, the Banshee and also Vlad von Carstein, chipped away the health of the mighty Rogue Idol, and in the end managed to uphold that balance of power with the sheer tankiness and healing of Vlad von Carstein. For the rest of the army here, Grave God doing pretty well against the Orc frontline, and zombies, well, they just got crumped by the orcs. However, the Blood Knights did quite a bit of good damage against the lightly armored Swamp Things. So, in the end, the Swamp Things was not able to earn back their value, I believe. And the Stone Trolls got some good value so far, but the rest of the army just simply was not able to carry their own weight. They did some okay damage throughout the battle so far, but don't forget they're fighting the vampire counts, so the damage value is always inflated to the actual impact they had on battle. Simply earning back their value is not enough and they have to kill some more. Scarsnake himself didn't do that much damage because he really didn't have a good target to fight this time, only having foot characters as the expensive part of the army on the vampire counts. His anti-large was largely wasted, while the Rogue Idol did some good damage, just not enough to carry the game. And yeah, that's it for today's battle. I hope you all enjoy the multiplayer action, and if you want to see more Total Warhammer multiplayer content, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Tactical Lich signing out.